Good evening. I, Prajakta Adhikari, on behalf of the IEAR, warmly welcomes all our participants and our speakers for today. IEAR, the Institute of Environmental Architecture and Research, which is a Mumbai-based educational, research and training institute with a vision to create a sustainable environment through scientific research, education and training, socio-cultural understanding, community engagement and awareness. We are a multidisciplinary group of scientists, professionals, and academicians who have joined forces to form this organization, having worked collaboratively for more than 15 years on education, environment consultancy, and awareness. Our mission is Environment First. This is the 12th webinar in the series which we started during the lockdown period. So far, we have reached out to more than 1,800 participants altogether. Our main objective in this webinar series is to provide educational and research inputs and a scientific and analytical approach to environmental issues. The Institute's foundation day falls on 14th of August 2019 and it was registered as a public trust on 19th of October 2019. We celebrated our first anniversary on last Saturday, that is on 17th October 2020. The program can be viewed on our YouTube channel. The channel link will be posted shortly in the chat window. The event was blessed by dignitaries like Mr. Deepak Kesarkar, former minister, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Chairman, National Council, ASSOCHAM GEM, and many more special invitees. Today's program is a continuation of our anniversary celebration. We have two webinars lined up, the first one being today, followed by the next one on coming Saturday, which showcases our major events done in past with a human-centric approach. I would now welcome our moderator, architect Sunanda Satwa, to introduce our today's webinar and our speakers.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, Namaste and Shalom. We are proud to welcome you today to this discourse on the Joint Indo-Israel program on sustainable design, Small is Beautiful, a study of design as if people mattered. This is the second of our 3-event series marking the first anniversary of the Institute of Environmental Architecture and Research. Sorry about that. Small is Beautiful, or SIB, as we sometimes refer to it, is an international interdisciplinary certificate program focusing on sustainable design and, yes, you guessed it, small spaces, and how effectively they are used or adapted by their occupants in their every day-to-day existence. Small is Beautiful, the title of the Sustainable Design Workshop, is inspired from Schumacher's radical book by the same name published in 1973, an intense mixture of politics, philosophy, environmentalism, and but of course economics. It has served as a challenge to gigantism and the apparent dehumanization of people with reference to scalability, citing examples from economics and the environment, challenging industrial revolution's mass production mantra of bigger being better. The Small is Beautiful model puts relationships, craft, human happiness, and environment at the heart of the way communities work. Small is Beautiful is a sustainable design workshop held simultaneously in India and Israel since 2016. It is conducted by the Institute of Environmental Architecture and Research India in collaboration with Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design in Jerusalem, Israel. In the last 2 years, the SIB workshop had the privilege of including students and faculty from the community social work track at the School of Social Work and Social Welfare, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. It's a multicultural sustainable design education program. Participants from interdisciplinary fields, including students, design professionals, academicians from architecture, engineering, urban planning, product and graphic design, and social work are encouraged to participate and broaden their vision. They are in turn mentored by designers, architects, industrial designers, and visual communication professionals from India and Israel. Participants communicate with their synced counterparts, teams across the globe via physical participation and audiovisual presentations held simultaneously online. SIB had spearheaded into online education 4 years before it became the new normal. The emphasis of the workshop is on problem-based learning and to apply that knowledge towards space-efficient design in favor of sustainability. The workshop, aside from imparting lectures on sustainable design, includes site visits, activity mapping, discussions across several multicultural and interdisciplinary contexts, design development, and presentation to the community seeking feedback. Potential projects for case studies are carefully identified in both India and Israel that explore different typologies of small houses. Past case studies have navigated through Mumbai's Dharavi and fishermen's colonies, Vadodara's poles, to the urban kibbutz and ultra-Orthodox Jewish colonies, seeking small-sized habitable spaces and their ingenious adaptive reuse. The aim of the education program is to understand compact spaces and apply design values learned from communities living with limitations. It addresses optimization of resources at the individual and community level. This week-long workshop is intense and immersive. Participants across the past 4 years have found the educational experience truly transformative. So much so that the pedagogical narrative of the SIB workshop was presented at the European Academy of Design in Rome in 2017 and is scheduled to be presented at the Beyond 2020 conference next month. Participants often visit buildings and sites beyond the scope of the curated workshop, make lifelong friends, experience multicultural dialects and cuisines, explore different places, and get an opportunity to expand the boundaries of their understanding of people, places, culture, and socio-economic behavior. In today's discourse, you shall witness the curators of the Small is Beautiful workshop, Dr. Roshni Udyavar Yehuda, Dr. Elad Persov, and Professor Rudy Kantor, together present the pedagogy of the workshop in more detail. Unfortunately, Professor Barak Pellman, the fourth curator, was unable to join us today. During the next 1 hour or so, you shall get a virtual glimpse into the Small is Beautiful workshop conducted earlier and learn about the various experiences of the participants. We shall end the session by sharing future prospects, including the announcement for Small is Beautiful 2021, and addressing any questions you may have regarding the SIB workshop. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure to stay logged in until the very end of the session today. Thank you and toda rabba. And now we present a short audiovisual which will give you a glimpse of SIB from 2016 to 2019. And now I would like to introduce today's speakers and curators of the Small is Beautiful workshop to you. So, first of all, we'd like to introduce Dr. Architect Roshni Udavar, who's a practicing architect and academician whose core competency lies in energy efficient and environmental design of buildings. Roshni has a PhD in resource management and is a qualified master trainer and empaneled expert on the Energy Conservation Building Code of India awarded by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. In February 2015, Dr. Yehuda is Dr. Yehuda is president of Institute of Environmental Architecture and Research Mumbai, co-chairman of ASSOCHAM GEM Maharashtra chapter, director Roshni Udyavar Yehuda and Associates Mumbai, and advisor to Environment and Sustainability Science and Technology Park Pune. Roshni is principal investigator for the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India's research project on developing energy efficient and ECBC compliant opaque wall assembly. She was head of Rachna Sansad Institute of Environmental Architecture from June 2003 to July 2017, where she initiated several environmental projects in addition to a postgraduate course on environmental architecture. She has more than 20 years of academic and professional experience and has traveled widely on professional assignments to more than 20 countries. The next person we would be introducing is Dr. Elad Persov. Dr. Elad Persov is the founder of the Design Management Program and is currently Faculty Design Management Program at the Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design, Jerusalem in Israel. He is member of the interdisciplinary research group at Bezalel, through which he and his colleagues have initiated SIB and Small is Beautiful, an interdisciplinary, international and multicultural sustainable design program being conducted in India and Israel for the past 4 years. After completing his BFA in ceramic design from Bezalel, Elad moved to New York, where he worked as ceramic designer and participated in several ceramic design exhibitions. He later enrolled in the design management program at Pratt Institute, New York. For his PhD with the Tel Aviv University, Elad researched on the environmental characteristics of design managers' role in NPD processes, looking for new paths that would lead to improvement of the social and environmental qualities of design. And today we move on to our third speaker and curator of this program, Miss Professor Rudy Kantor. She's a senior lecturer at the Department of Visual Communication. She's a political and social activist and a graphic designer. The courses she teaches combine social involvement and active social media activity, and her students produce visual communications packages for organizations and NGOs. Ms. Kantor is the Bezalel President's advisor for gender fairness in Bezalel. In her studio, she is working on a regular basis for social and environmental organization. So today we welcome all the participants to this discussion. Thank you for joining us. And to our three curators today, in this discourse, I would actually like to ask all of you a few questions. And the topmost question on my mind is, how did the idea of small is beautiful germinate? Why small is beautiful? And this is a question that I would invite all three of you to address, perhaps starting from Dr. Roshni.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Sunanda, for the wonderful introduction and also the audiovisual. I think it captured all the 4 years of our work in this particular program. And now to your specific question about what led us to start SIB. I think I would go a little bit behind to our initial discussions. And I think it's very important in any kind of collaboration that we have some kind of a level, we have some kind of a thinking which matches with each other. So that's where it began, because we all were thinking along the same lines. And what really concerned us, I would think at that time, was that there are lots of rating systems and technologies and green buildings and greenwashing and all kinds of things happening as far as green is concerned, as far as environment is concerned. And but in many cases it is not making any real change in the society, in the world, and so on. And so we had this common concern that how do we change people through design? How do we make a change in the human behavior? And I think that was the beginning of SIB, because exactly, small is beautiful. We came across, we had lots of deliberations and a series of Skype calls in those days. I think Skype has become redundant now. We are all on Zoom, but we had a series of calls to discuss this issue, and it all came down to community learning from people. And especially if we think about how people are managing very well in small spaces, what can we learn from them? That was, I think, the beginning of our thought process, and that is what led to this formation of this program. I think that's what I would say at this point.
Dr. Elad, would you like to add to Dr. Roshni's views?
Yes, thank you. It's nice to remember the old time that we thought about the name of the program. And, I think that beyond the education of students, we also had in mind our role as educator of the educators, because along the workshops and the teaching, we always conduct research which looks into what students learn and what is the best way to teach them sustainability. Because as we all know, many of the modern days problems in society and environmental burdens have been created by people who studied at universities and who are capable of doing a lot of things, and nevertheless there's a lot of harm and damage being done. So what exactly does university teach their students? How do they differentiate between good and bad for the students from the disciplinary point of view? So we always, almost in each course, we conduct a research and we see what can we tell other educators about teaching sustainability, and we share it through papers that will be published. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's very interesting, educating the educators. And Professor Rudy. So Professor Kantor, what is your inputs into this question? So
I think that choosing the size matter, the smallness as an issue is not, as Roshni said, it's not a regular sustainable point of view. It's not the regular greenwash. And this is only very meaningful, but only a weak class workshop. So I think that it opened for the students for new concepts and new way of thinking about what is being sustainable, what is sustainability, how does it relate to the actual learning, how does it relate to all the discipline learning. And I think that the fact that this is a hands-on workshop, which actually go out there and search for answers and look for new questions, and meeting community and meeting people and hearing ideas from friends from other disciplines is something that maybe it's not an immediate react or immediate impact on their study, but in most of the workshop we always saw people really realize for the first time how sustainable is very relevant to what they learn, and new points of view to learn from. So I think that some of the ways that community sizes, a different culture, and all these things are really a very strong impact on our educators.
So my next question is an offshoot of the same one. So, and to each one of you again individually, starting with you, Professor Rudy, what according to you is the central theme of this workshop? Can you define it maybe in a sentence?
I think you're on mute, Rudy.
Yes, Rudy, you're on mute.
I think I'll steal all the words we always use, that it is multidisciplinary, multicultural, international, and with community. And this is very unique.
Okay. And would you like to add to that? I think she used all the keywords.
Well, I think
the hashtag.
I can stress out that beyond that wicked problems are to be solved through the joining forces of different disciplines, we also claim that culture cannot be overlooked while developing technical solutions. It goes hand in hand. If it is overlooked, then the success rate is dropping dramatically and sustainability is not achieved.
Yes. And
I would just like to add that I think what we have focused in all of these workshops, although it is a very dynamic and we keep moving as per the how the case studies are and so on. One of the things that we focus is what can we learn from people and from their community, and from that includes their culture, their lifestyle, everything. So it's about learning from people, I would say.
Okay. Very interesting thoughts. Like, and I think it's true to what you're saying, interdisciplinary and multifaceted and multidisciplinary. My next question, again addressed to all three of you, is that you had presented the pedagogical narrative of the Small is Beautiful workshop at the European Academy of Design in Rome 2017, and shall be presenting it again at the Beyond 2020 conference on November 4th, which is supported by the UN Environment Program. Actually, for the other participants, you may also check the chat box. We've shared the link of the conference over there. So back to the curators, would you kindly share with your audience today, which comprises of several students and academicians, some of the pedagogical processes you have introduced into your workshop? Starting from Dr. Persov, perhaps?
Yes. I think we use design thinking as a basis. And our definition of design thinking is it's in a way of a problem-solving sprint that incorporates empathetic perspective to the users, and rapid prototyping, which is done with co-creation with users and end users and stakeholders. So this is the first structural element. Also, multidisciplinarity is easier said than done, and how to achieve it, because we also learned from the surveys of our students' feedbacks and their works that this is the experience of working in a multidisciplinary environment is the strongest. This is the lesson that they take from with them after the workshop is over. And I think one of the important things is just the surprise that they have at the first days of the workshop. They are lacking the shared language with their peer students from really close disciplines. Interaction design, product design, architecture, relatively related, but yet they cannot talk to each other professionally. So this is, I think, one pedagogical tool that's easier to explain that can be taken forward. And also, we try to create a self-efficacy that they can be problem solvers of this very large and complex problem of sustainability. And beyond the need for a shared language, we also give them the ability to learn from their peers. Also gives them a lot of strength, and also the literacy of different fields that they work with. And I think that the contribution of the students from the Hebrew University has been tremendous, because they come from a totally different discipline, which have almost no common language. And they learn that as designers, they can quickly adapt and learn and create a common language in between different teams and become leaders of environmental changes. So these are like pinpointing a couple of tools.
Wonderful. Elad, I'll be coming back and elaborating on that question some more after a few minutes. We'd really like to know, more about what the students at the Hebrew University are doing. Professor Rudy, would you like to answer that?
I think I'll follow. I'll add the concept about the need to experience new ways of learning. And I want to be specific about working with community, because we insist that the community will be their mentor and their professor and the teacher. And they're used to work usually in kind of a white cube. We have our language, we know our phrases, the professional phrases, and going to the community and getting the impression, and even though it's for a short time, is learning to add to their tools some community, which is very important. It's like their end users or the clients or whatever they will meet later, but in a way, something that they had to respect, they have to listen, they have to create a dialogue, they have to take it in consideration in all their decision. They must be able to explain all their phrases, all the professional things to people who are not always have this knowledge, and they have to be enough communicative to do it. So it adds a certain insecure or a certain unknown zone, but this raises all their abilities. And also, I think that the phrase "small is useful" is if people matters, they suddenly understand that everything they do, there are real people in the end, and they can sometimes not agree to their ideas, or sometimes they miss the basic values of the culture, so that they come back and say, oh, everything we offered wasn't suiting for him. So now we sit down again and listen again and be modest, even professional in one hand and modest in the other hand, and be able to come over kind of mistakes or misunderstood. And then they have to use all the partners from the other discipline in order to communicate and get over these dilemmas. So it's also something that make them be able to be not a stereotypical learner or working in a very sure surroundings of the academy, but go out there and implement it into their knowledge.
Wow, I like that. That almost makes it sound like it's a laboratory. Like it's actually like going back and forth with the community. Dr. Roshni.
Yeah, I think Elad and Ruti have already specified how most of the things. I would just like to add that yes, one of the key methods is problem-based learning, and we've sort of it's more of dynamics sort of learning, and more of a constructivist paradigm, and grounded theory kind of thing. So people, the students on the very first day, the participants, they go on the field, and we don't give them much information. They just told about some case studies, and then they go on the field, and then they experience the whole community, the spaces and everything, and they just absorb everything, and then they formulate the problem. They come up with the ideas. So it's not something that we give them a list of things or something like that, but there are some tools that we have used, like environmental mapping, the site mapping. We have used sustainability indices as sort of something they can collect and so on. But I think the very important aspect of this program is the multidisciplinarity. And as both Elad and Ruti have mentioned, it's like when you are an architect, you have a certain language, you think in certain terms, and suddenly when you come meet with a person from a different discipline, you realize that you are working within your own limitations, and suddenly your world expands. You're able to see a lot more from a different perspective, and that is the learning that we cannot even put together in words. I think that it has long lasting implications to the participants when they work in multidisciplinary and also, of course, multicultural, because like there are two extremes here, one India and one Israel. So totally, I mean, not totally, but there are lots of things very different in these cultures, and this also serves as a sort of a very good learning ground, new learning ground for the participants. So it's like that, and each workshop takes us further. We go on adding to this entire process, and I think that's how we have been doing it so far.
Okay. So I'm thinking, I'm listening, and I'm thinking, okay, multidisciplinarity, and like each one of you said, so Elad is saying that rather than treating the individual disciplines in silos, bringing it all together, and like Ruti said, making the community the educator, the teacher, and like yourself, Roshni, you mentioned creating these mapping and indexes, or like indices that would help design. So the next query that I have specifically for you, Dr. Roshni, is you are an architect and you're known as an expert in environmental architecture. How and where do you think the small is beautiful philosophy can be interwoven in architecture, specifically architecture first?
Okay, so I think small is not just related to spaces. It is also about the thinking. It's about the lifestyle. It's about economy. It's about everything. So, what one of the biggest things that happens in this workshop with the learning from the people, learning from vernacular architecture, from their lifestyles, and so on. So, this is something that is entirely missing in our current narrative of green buildings. We are just looking at making technologies, having rating systems, having a checklist, having a scorecard, and rating a building as a green building. So you may have, a lot of buildings which are absolutely so-called maybe platinum rated, gold rated building, and all of these things. But it may not be still it may still be consuming a lot more energy, a lot more water, because people are not tuned to it. So what we are trying to learn, and what we hopefully can apply, is this learning about how people in the past, how we can design communities, how we can have the layout, the physical layout, and the structural and the economical and the social layout of communities in such a way that they are contributing to sustainability. They are making the community sustainable. So I think that is one of the ways I can think of how the weaving of SIB into architecture can happen.
Okay, so what you're saying is that the space can be small, but the thinking has to be big. Okay. My next question to you, Professor Dr. Elad, is you are a ceramic designer and a design manager. And I think SIB is a wonderful multidisciplinary initiative. As a member of the interdisciplinary research group in Bezalel Academy, can you shed some light on what you do there and how you've been able to bring your design thinking into this workshop, especially in the role of multidisciplinary learning? I know you did earlier mention some points of it, but we'd like you to elaborate on it.
Yes. Well, I actually started my career in building mud houses This was my first design action, and I find out that now I'm getting back to it after making a long circle in design, in industrial products, and in management of design, strategic design, business design, and I'm back to the mud bricks, and I find that in a way, sustainability is the core purpose of design, to my perspective, especially design with a big D, designing in large scales of thinking. Because designing for profit or for short-term goals is something of the past, and we're still teaching it in most academies. If you look at branding processes and marketing agendas, it doesn't work anymore just looking at the short terms, and even the large consumer products are looking into creating sustainable relationship with their customers, because knowingly that if they will not keep them satisfied and healthy for a long time, they won't be there in 20 years to come. And design is a very powerful tool, especially if you know how to design in different disciplines and how to coordinate efforts and how to bring strategic thinking into the design process, or how to bring design into strategy. So the ethical aspect of it is critical. Like if you have a powerful tool, you need to have security measures, not to make harm use of it. And this way, I think that through this interdisciplinary sustainable design group that we have in Bezalel, we are looking into the ethical aspects of our role towards next generations to come. We see ourselves as ambassadors to our children and grandchildren and to the other species that are living along with us on this planet. And we are trying to create ways that will help designers to incorporate all of this almost impossible a number of perspectives of designing for the past and designing for the future, and designing small and large, and designing for Indian culture and Israeli culture. And there are no answers. We're just looking into the basic tools that will help students and faculties to create their own answers for that.
Okay, so I'm listening to you and Roshni. I'm thinking she spoke about vernacular. You're talking about ethics. So it's like, you know, going back to the basics and to the roots. So my next question actually to you, Alad, is also that you've traveled twice to India. Once in 2018 for the Moderator workshop, and the next time last year for Belagavi workshop. Can you share your insights into your first impression, and then your learnings about India, its culture, and the people? And also another thing it occurred to me when Rudy was speaking is, again, it's multicultural. So how do the students also transcend that gap of maybe the culture or the language? Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I think that we know the importance of culture as an educational tool, but we are still haven't figured out exactly what is the best way to do it. We try many things, but so far we just achieved several times of culture shock that happened to students and like took them out of their safety zone. And we are trying to see how students in Israel can learn from findings in India and vice versa. And it is also very complicated to achieve. Nevertheless, in global environment, addressing different cultures is critical, and thinking of the different people and cultures perceive solutions differently is a major cornerstone for designers to be able to design sustainably. Even in one place, there are so many cultures. I think in Belgavi, last time that we've been in India, we've seen so many cultures that live in harmony together. And in a way, in India, India by itself, to my understanding, is a multicultural place, but it is celebrated. It's not a place for problems, at least from what I saw, rather a place of brotherhood in a way. And in Israel, we're still far away from this this point of view. So.
My next question is for you, Professor Rudy. Even before I can ask that, I'm awed and I'm beginning to see this workshop as a multicultural laboratory where flavors of design creativity are really blending in. So my query to you is that as an expert on visual communications, how do you see the role of visual communication professionals in sustainability? Rudy, you'll have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, as Elad said, that we're looking and taking care for the future generation. So I don't think there's even a phrase that's sustainable visual communication, if we are thinking about it. So the question is about the role of visual communication is crucial because it's not like in industrial design or architecture that the sustainability is an inherent part of the discipline. In each discipline in a different way. In visual communication, the subject of sustainability is often ignored. So there is there's hardly any education and any talk, conversation about it. So I think there are two main topics. One which is the most important one, is the question of ethics and the basic definition of the discipline that we call visual communication. And the other one is the deal with practical aspect, which is how to use materials, which this is easier. What is staying and left after the product get out of use, what size to use, and things that are practical and we can adopt them. And we can even ask ourselves if the transfer to screen is more ecological, which there are now new answers about using, not using paper or material stuff, but using electricity and Wi-Fi, etc., and especially now on these days. So I think that there are a lot of action that we have to take as visual communication. We have to think, and we have sometimes to refuse or to reduce the process, or to slow down, or to choose other things, or to think about phrases from regular sustainability into our own discipline, because we are in a way we are never looked as someone that is the bad guy in this situation, because we are the mediators, we are the people who package the ideas, we translate ideas, we take ideas into visual language, we sharpen messages and we promote sales, but we are not the one to blame, because we don't build a real estate project, or we don't find a new flavor for ice cream, etc. So that's why I think we are kind of executioners, because we are never criticized. And the quality, the only thing that people are talking about, the value of visual communication, has to do with the quality of the design. Is it the right colors? Is it the right font? Is it the right message? But we never criticize the deed itself. So I think that visual communication are not aware of the role because it's like something, it is there and nobody blames them, because they are indisciplinable partners that is never subjected. So I think this is an ethical dilemma that pop-ups from every page or every screen we deal with. And I think it's very important to understand that visual communicators are not only those who are wrapping other ideas, or if you're working in a multidisciplinary team, so there will be the idea and the graphic designer will make it look good. We will choose the right composition, the right font, etc. But I think that it's about time that visual communication will take responsibility of their part in the team of the consumerism society, and part of those who promote a lot of things that are not sustainable. So that's why I think that in this multidisciplinary course, maybe the biggest awareness is for visual communicators, because they don't deal with it on a regular basis, which is not like in architecture, greenhouses, or in sustainable industrial design. So I think that touching this ethical question is very, very crucial to visual communication.
It's very interesting. In today's time, we all are media consumers. So we, like you rightly said, that I think we all need to take responsibility for it. And that was a very interesting insight that you shared. And I'm earlier when we started with this discourse, we were thinking about small and we were thinking of sustainability, but words like tradition, ethics, responsibility are coming across. So my next query to you, it's related to the first question, is that would you say local art, culture, and tradition plays a major role in binding communities together, or even as you spoke about, like, the visual communication, the presentation of it? How could how could it project a more sustainable outlook? Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, I think that as we said, the aim of the course is to get impressed and test what can be learned from people who's living in crowded and in small places. So I think that the first stage is to get to know and recognize the local tradition, the local culture. When I say culture, sometimes it's the things that people are not talking about, something that is obvious for them, that it is an unspeaking issue, something that the community knows, that you don't do that or you do that, or it's all the values and the habits. So by coming and looking at and mapping the culture, even though it's quite ambitious to do it in a week workshop, but then you realize that there is a local language and a local visual language that is leaning on tradition, and you cannot destroy it. So when you come to as a designer or as an architect, when you come to this point, when you see this local things, is very critical to, as I said, to learn listening dialogue as a professional. So sometimes you come and you translate or adopt a behavior of one culture to another, and you don't use or admire even the local things. So if you want to adopt like something that in the course we saw in place in Mumbai, and you want to adopt it into a local culture and a local visual culture, you have to really criticize the concept and see how you can adopt it. So I think because we are living in a global world, so the locality and the international and the multicultural, especially now, I think now it's an interesting period to look at it, because there are things happening locally, but there's one big and a lot of topics that are everybody is experiencing it now. So what is the difference of the local tradition or local art, local culture that we should keep? So in one hand, the whole world now is in the same situation. On the other hand, people start understanding the nearest neighborhood people, and suddenly a lot of locality and came out as a strength. So for designers and for architecture or artists, it's very important to understand that this is it. And also, I think even now in Israel, when people are going to demonstrate all over the world for kind of freedom or democracy or whatever, in the end of this change is to preserve the local culture or the local music or the local art, because this is why people are fighting for freedom, because freedom means that you can create your own culture and art and tradition.
Thank you so much, Rudy, Roshni, and Hilal. Actually, after these wonderful insights, I'm curious to see what the participants of the workshop have to say. So let's first look at a short video.
Hello. Hello. Hi, my name is Elias. I'm an architecture student.
Hi, I'm Adi. I'm a social worker from Israel, from the Hebrew University.
Hello, I'm Adan, an architecture student in Bezalel Academy from Jerusalem.
Hello, I'm Vandana. I'm a civil engineer and I'm currently working at Gulbarga, Karnataka.
Hello, Shalom. I'm Adil Nadim Hussain, presently working as an assistant professor in Bangalore. I'm specialized in water resource management. Thank you. Yeah, so our case study, the name of the case study is Chaugla Residence, and it is situated in the center, the heart of the Belgaum city, in its close proximity to the major locations of the Belgaum city, the railway stations and the bus stand and all. So the main idea of the case study is the residence is very old, it's 100 years old. So my part or my role in the case study is to restore the engineering aspect of the case study, and the others, the social worker, he'll be restoring the social sustainability aspect, and architectural, we have architecture students from Israel, and they'll be restoring the architectural aspect of the case study. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello. My name is Liat Poizner Kantor. I'm an architect student.
My name is Shivani Salvi. I'm an architect from Mumbai. My name is Savitri. I'm a software engineer.
My name is Disel Cherbis, and I'm a community social worker from the Hebrew University. I will explain a little bit about our project. So our study case is at Kudale House, that is in Belgaum Shahapur. The Kudale family welcomed us with a open heart and open heart, and we were exposed in this study case for a certain style living, of sustainable style living, and also we are really impressed about the family values and connections.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nelly. I'm an architect from Bezalel.
Hi, I'm Ayelet. I'm a social worker from Hebrew University.
Hi, I'm Sidhani MK. I'm second year student of MTech, Department of Water and Land.
Hi, I'm Vishi. I'm an architect. I'm from Mumbai, India. And we will be talking a little bit more about our project. The house that we are studying is the Bhatkande house. It believes in the idea of having a small living, simplistic living with great ideologies of family values, and agriculture is their primary occupation. And we were fortunate enough to be humbly received by them, and they showed us around their house to understand their lifestyle, the ecology around, the environmental aspect, the climatic conditions, and what are the sustainability features we can draw out of them.
So the project we thought of doing is, because we learned so much from them, is to take their house as kind of a prototype to be a house that could be an educational center for volunteers to come and local people to come and learn about organic growing and ecological environmental issues.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Manish Pote, and I'm a civil engineer. I'm a student. We have did a case study on open family, and he will explain about the family.
Namaste. I am Suraj Kumar S. Sonar, working as an assistant professor in Vivekananda Engineering College. We had a great workshop here, learned a lot of things with respect to sustainability, and my group member will continue the things.
Hi, my name is Nassim Tahan. I'm an architecture student at the Bezalel University. We also have another member she had to leave. She's called Stav. She's a social worker from the Hebrew University. Our main case study is called Environmental Heritage. We basically did a lot of research and documentation of the house, and the main essence was a lot of social problems from the family, that a lot of young people are leaving Belgium because of job issues. So we want to keep this house and to document it and keep it as a site heritage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Lucy and I'm a fashion designer.
My name is Christine and I'm a social worker and a lawyer.
Hello, I'm Deepak and I'm a civil engineer.
My name is Neha and I'm an architect. I would like to talk a brief about our subject. We had given a house over residence in the camp area of Belgaum. It's a cantonment area, almost 100 years old space. It's a green zone, a lot of greenery around and a very organized location. So the residence that we were working on was pretty interesting in terms of the whole atmosphere. At the same time, it was a lane where all the tailors resided. So we are working on that aspect with how the tailors can further enhance their lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. We also have today amongst us Elam. He was a participant from Israel in one of the earlier workshops. So we'd also like to hear of your experiences and opinions of the workshop, Elam.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Right, do you have any specific question or just in general?
We'd like to know of your experience.
Well, I had a very positive experience. I was a participant in the first Small is Beautiful 2016, and then I was a teaching assistant in 2017 also in the course itself. It was very positive, I would say. I recommend it to everyone I know. What I really took from the course, I think it was the community sense. It emphasized a lot about the community, and that's a word that I haven't heard from the three of you, but I think that all of you are a little bit going around it, that the community and the sustainability of the community is something that's important, and I think it's a little bit lacking in architectural studies. That was a very nice experience and very meaningful, I think, point in my studies.
Okay. So would you say, the curators have emphasized on the different pedagogy and how the interdisciplinarity of it is the USP or the unique point of the workshop? What would be your views on it? Would you agree to that? That the multidisciplinarity was...
Yeah, I haven't experienced working with very different fields. Although, I mean, in my group, we were all designers, so architectural designer, graphic designer, and in that case, it is very productive, but also we have a lot of common knowledge and common, let's say, practices. So it wasn't difficult at all. I haven't seen that as for sure, it was very positive experience. Interdisciplinary and working with that, I think it was very natural, maybe because I'm coming from architectural field and it's always been such a interdisciplinary field of knowing how to deal with other fields. Although in other groups, or in 2017, what I experienced as a teacher, that's meaningful designer or the role of designer in groups of multidisciplinary teams, which with the Hebrew University students, where that was a key point of designers, knowing how to connect other fields. I think that was
very nice. Okay, thank you so much, Elam. Thank you for joining us. After those testimonials and hearing from the curators, we're curious to have a look at one of the case study too. And the case study, the next case study that you're going to see is going to be presented by architect Vishi Shah. And it is from the Sib Workshop in 2019 in Belagavi. To introduce Vishi, she's an architect, graduated from Sir J.J. College of Architecture in 2016, and thereafter completed Masters in Sustainable Architecture Design from the University of Sheffield, UK in 2018. She has been working as a junior research fellow with the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, on developing energy efficient and ECBC compliant opaque walling assemblies for warm and humid and hot and dry climate, along with Dr. Roshni Udyavar Yehuda, one of our curators here, for the past 2 years. Being a USGBC lead accredited professional and an IGBC accredited professional, Vishi has been consistently working on different aspects of environmental architecture, sustainability, and green buildings. So welcome to this discourse, Vishi. We are all very excited to see what you have to present. Over to you, Vishi.
Hi, good evening to everyone. And I'll just share my screen along with the presentation. So I'll just take you through a brief journey of our experience and learning at the SIB 2019. This is the family and the house that we were allotted. It was called the Bhatkande Residence, and we proudly called it a place of sentimental values. As the curators have mentioned before, that this has been an interdisciplinary workshop, and we were fortunate enough to have people from different courses coming together and sharing their experiences and ideas and making collaborative team efforts to work on this project. Taking you through a little brief about the site, this house was located in the Piranwadi region in the city of Belgaum, which happens to be in the state of Karnataka in India. This is a little climatic analysis that we did for the site. And this is an 80-year-old mud house, a family of 3 generations, that is 3 brothers, their wives, subsequently their children, and now their grandchildren have been living in the house since 1956. So this was a very unique feature that we saw. It is not very common to see all the families living together in today's times. And agriculture was their primary occupation. So you can see a lot of agricultural fields around the house. And they had an approximate area of 4 acres that belonged to them. Zooming out on the macro level of the family and the house in general, these are the 5 characteristics that we identified. Firstly, their close-knit family values. Secondly, agriculture being their primary occupation. So agricultural fields formed a major part of their house and their living. They had a very simplistic lifestyle. And when I elaborate on saying a simplistic lifestyle, they were also very open to the idea of adapting to the changing times. That is why you can see that they have constructed 3 new houses right adjacent to their old 80-year mud house, which is to keep in the needs of the changing times in mind. And we have a lot of ecological flora and fauna as terms of the biodiversity, which is there in and around the site. Now zooming in it a little into the house, this is a
sort of 3D model of the house, highlighting some pictures of the interior spaces. The house has a mezzanine level, which is mostly used for sleeping spaces. Most of the family used the lower levels for their day-to-day activities. The house responds really very well to the local climatic conditions. So when there are extreme winters, the mud walls keep the internal spaces very warm, and vice versa in the summer, the internal spaces are kept extremely cool. They have a cattle shed, which is in the front open space, as well as in the on the right hand side of the house. Talking about the overall idea of small is beautiful, with this particular project, we wanted to highlight the symphony that is bridging the old and the new. And to do this, we wanted to focus on incorporating modern technologies into the traditional the agricultural practices, because agriculture even today is the primary occupation of the family. Although the younger generations have educated, are working in the employment sector, they're all engineers, but they still make it a point to continue their traditional family occupation. They have a very good family bond. Their simplistic living, the lifestyle that they have, the sentimental value that is attached to their work for their agricultural practice, and they follow the concept of having zero waste. So whatever waste producers they have through the agricultural activities is somehow used back into the fields and the house itself. And not only talking about this particular house, but since this was a 1-week workshop, we were fortunate enough to visit a couple of other places in and around the city. And through these site visits and through interactions with the other people, we learned some of these key aspects. We visited the Gokul Dham Vedic village, which follows the ISKCON principles and Hare Krishna principles, which taught us about the whole idea of need versus wants, which is very important in today's time. Using the resources that we have to the optimum, incorporating spirituality as a key element into our day-to-day lives. This is something that we wanted to focus on. So for this particular house, we developed a vision that concentrated on the social, environmental, and the economic parameters. Socially, talking about bridging the gap between the old and the new in terms of the family values and the occupation, creating more social awareness. The transition between the family work to the employment sector, as I said, because the newer generations have started working outside the farm. And one thing that we noticed was that on the farm for the agricultural activities, they do not hire any outside labor. So it's just the family that is working on the farms. So in a way, they want to preserve the essence of the family as well as the agricultural occupation that is there. And in terms of looking at the environmental aspects, implementing modern technologies to improve their agricultural techniques, and also trying to sustain the ecological components in and around the site. So we came out with this idea of developing this house as a prototype, which can be considered as an eco-center. This is sort of a glimpse, you can say like a Facebook page that we developed for this, calling it as an eco-volunteering local experience. This can be extended for more and more number of houses, and the primary mission being that educating the communities on the importance of organic farming. And this would also be achieved through sharing their experience. So we could have visitors coming in, experiencing the agricultural activities, and overall the idea of living on a farm and interacting with the local communities. These are some of the key aspects that we wanted to highlight. So in exchange for the food and the accommodation that the visitors get, they can in turn help the family on the farm and learn more about the traditional agricultural practices, and also develop this as an education center. So they can learn more about the biodiversity, have activities such as bird watching, and understand the importance of localities around. And finally, the producers of the family can be used as an organic, can be given an organic exposure. So a local shop can be developed to promote their agricultural sales. These were the social aspects, I would say, that we wanted to concentrate on. And in terms of the architectural interventions, we had a few suggestions that could improve the internal planning of the house. This being an old house, we did not want to play much with the traditional inheritance that they have. So the sketch on the right hand side shows some elements like introducing skylights in the roof to get more light and ventilation into the spaces, improving the cattle shed which is there by using of some organic materials like bamboo, uh, and also designing a drainage pattern which is there, which I will take you on to the next slide. So implementing the technology along with the architecture and designing a sort of specialized drainage pattern, which will take away all the urine and the defecation waste from the cattle to a chamber together, which can be used for as a natural compost in the agricultural activities. And as I mentioned, creating a use of bamboo that is a local material, more environment friendly, using green walls and creepers as element to benefit the house climatically. Lastly, talking about creating Belgaum as and looking for future developments. So our idea was to create Belgaum as an epicenter to the world. And what I mean here is that we could utilize this house and create such similar prototypes in and around the city and link a social network between all of these centers and technically create more tourist friendly environments for all the visitors that are coming to the city, have good accommodation facilities, sanitation measures for them. And this will not only boost the tourism, but it will also give a lot of boost to the local activities which is there. And in terms of incorporating this into the 5-year development plan, there could be specific objectives, strategies, financial models that can be worked out, keeping in mind the ecological and efficiency policy. And while we were doing this, we were also fortunate to present these ideas to a few people from the council department, which in turn, if these get implemented, will create a great example for urban development as we've been talking about developing the communities in a sustainable way. So just to conclude, I would say that keeping in mind the spiritual aspects, introduction of different cultures together, using the history and heritage of Belgaum as a city, and in turn focusing on upscaling the local business of the communities. So this was the overall learning, a sort of a holistic learning and our approach and a conclusion to our case study. So thank you.
Thank you, Architect Vishi Shah, for sharing your experience and learnings. It was indeed looks like a very interesting and comprehensive study. Like so much you were able to achieve within the 1-week workshop. And after that very interesting presentation, I would next like to introduce the coordinator for the SIB workshop at VTU, Mr. Rohan Gaurav. Rohan is an engineer. He has done his MTech from Vishi Shah Technological University, Belgavi. He is currently an assistant professor at the Department of Water and Land Management, Center for PG Studies at VTU, Belgavi, and part of the executive team of IEAR, Mumbai. Mr. Rohan, we would also like to hear your views on the Small is Beautiful workshop that was held at Belagavi last year.
Thank you, Sunanda. First of all, I would like to welcome each one of you and thank you for inviting me on this particular event. So I would like to start the SIB journey with VTU. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Roshni and as well as the Professor Elad from Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design, Jerusalem. It was a really wonderful journey we had in Belgavi. And if I'm not wrong, I must also thank the Hebrew University Jerusalem, because it is like jointly we have the IEAR as well as the Bezalel Group, Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design Jerusalem, as well as the Hebrew University, and the VTU was as a part of this particular program for hosting it. So the topic itself, that is like the workshop, the 4th interdisciplinary international certificate program we hosted at VTU. It is on sustainable design, small is beautiful, and a study of design as if people mattered. So we hosted this particular event in the month of September in 2019 during 9 September to 16 September, and I was the coordinator on behalf of VTU. Along with me, one more professor, Dr. Anand A.V. Shukur. He was the organizing chairperson during this particular workshop. So it is like very beautifully created and designed workshop for present, you can say, the people, students, architects, professional, field experts. So first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Roshni as well as the IER team for organizing and generating such a wonderful event for the people, and where the sustainability and the environment is a first concern. So if I want to talk about the SIB success in Belgaum, so it is like really wonderful. And still I miss, because during this Ganpati, along with me, also all the family members, all the, you can say, the people who are associated with this particular SIB, everyone is asking me why this time, why we are not organizing this SIB in Belgavi. So I think only due to the pandemic and the present situation, it is very difficult to host it. But if I talk from the VTU side, as well as all the faculty members, all the organizers, all the academicians, including the registrar and VC, they also, you can say, miss this particular event. And we seriously, we want this particular event to be hosted every year in association, and you can say as a part of VTU, we would also like to host in our different regions. So that also point we have discussed last time. And if I talk about the success of SIP 2019, which we hosted at Belgavi, the certificate program is organized by IEAR, was successfully conducted in collaboration with the Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design, Jerusalem, and also the Hebrew University, and it is hosted by VTU. The success of this program is attributed to the collaboration set up during the roadshow in the June by the team of IER field experts. I remember the Sneha, Rajiv, and Roshni madam. So we started with the road show. We visited different colleges. We done the, you can say, different campaign. We met the people. We have also visited the NGOs and different the case studies. So it is not like usually what happens during, means whenever we work in any academic. So it is a matter of hardly 10 days. If you want to organize any FDP or faculty development program, everything is set. Only thing is we have to focus the resource person, and we have to call them, we have to invite them, and we have to host the event. But this is totally different. So because I do remember Roshni madam and as well as the IER team, so they have started this journey almost 3 to 4 months back. So it is almost 6 months they have taken. I think they have put their efforts to organize, to conduct, to, you can say, interact with the people, with the experts. It is like complete journey. It's 6 months journey, I would like to you can say highlight here. And during this particular workshop, so Dr. Smita Suryabhankar, I would like to highlight her name also, because she provided an overview of the history, culture, and tradition of the Belgaum to the team of IER as well as the participants. And later they conducted the heritage walk for the participants. For being a Belgaumite, it is also, for me also, it was something different, because we live in the city, but there are some places, there are some, you can say, points which we don't know anything. So whenever we do such activity, when we participate in such program, it's like proud feeling for us. And Mrs. Sunita Hanam Shet, they introduced the team of, you can say, IER to the local people and to the Rotary Club of Belgavi, where we met the Mr. Vikrant Kudle. So I must also thank Vikrant Kudle, because he personally, he came forward, he interacted with us. He said, definitely, I love this particular theme, and I want to, you can say, interact with you people. I want to, you can say, I'm also a part of this SIB, and I would like to help to host this particular event, and I would also will help you to, you can say, circulate this message to maximum Belgaum people. And he introduced two different, you can say, people, if I remember, if I'm not wrong, then definitely the Kudle residents, and as well as one more, I think Chaugule residents and Uppin residents. So he was like voluntarily, he came forward and he interacted with us, and he approached to the IER team and he helped a lot. And he also introduced the team of Ginde family as well, which is located in Sonar Galli, Belgavi. So both these houses served as a case study and the site visit for the IEAR participants along with the IEAR expert. So next, I would like to highlight Mrs. Hanam Sheth also conducted a tour of Vivekananda Memorial for the team. So it is also a very wonderful and spiritual, you can say, site visit which we conducted. And Mrs. Jyoti Kiran, she explained about her mission and the exhibit and the restoration of the work of Vivekananda Memorial. So it was also a very beautiful, you can say, home which restored very nicely. Okay. Then if I'm not wrong, then uh, one of the, you can say, one more site visit we have made it successfully. We have done it, like one is like Acres SCZ Private Limited and wind farms, and also the Gokul Dham Vedic village, and also the Ginde family, and that is a mud house. And the case studies I would like to also highlight, because without case studies it is very difficult for the success of the SIB. So I must thank the Urankar residents family people, then Uppin residents people, then Kudle residents, then Dattakrupa Housing Society, then Bhatkande residents and Chaule residents. And I also thank Vishi for you can say explaining such a wonderful, because she presented this particular Bhatkande residents case study very, you can say, nicely, and she has highlighted key points of SIB and IEAR, and the mission of IEAR we can see through her presentation. Then as a part of VTU, me and Anand A.V. Shupur, he was the organizing chairperson. So we met during this particular site visits. We also interacted with IER team as well as the experts, and along with the IER team member, we have visited all the site visits. So it is also a very wonderful you can say movement for us. And the cultural experience for the Israeli students was I must say it is very beautiful. And the way they approach to the different participants, because all the participants, if I'm not wrong, they're from different religion, they're from different community, different cities, and you can say the language is not at all common, but still I say this 8 days, 8 to 10 days, they stayed together, they lived together with joy, happiness, etc. So the program would not be been possible without the constant support of pattern Dr. A.S. Deshpande sir, and also the chief A.S. Deshpande sir, registrar of VTU, as well as the chief pattern Dr. Kari Siddhappa, honorable vice chancellor of VTU Belgavi, and also the team of IER and the professor Dr. Elad Persev, and also the Hebrew University Jerusalem. So I must thank each one of you for you can say organizing and allowing a VTU to host this mega event in Belgavi. So SIB and IEAR togetherly, they have set a great benchmark in VTU, and now it is almost famous in Karnataka, if I'm not wrong. So almost 220 engineering colleges, 220 engineering colleges, they you can say, meanwhile whenever we conduct workshop, they usually drop one message, or they ping us when the SIB is going to conduct, which is a, you can say, appropriate date or appropriate month, so that we would like to you can say send our students. And it is one of the best thing which I would like to highlight here. The SIB doesn't have, you can say, limitation for any branch or any community or age factor. It is like interdisciplinary open workshop where anyone can come, participate, explore, share the knowledge, experience the culture, share the culture. So it is like something unique. I have never seen such a beautiful workshop during my, you can say, academic experience. If I talk about, you can say, the success of this particular SIB, the approach is to develop the humanistic and the people-centered design. On this ground, they have designed this particular workshop, and the name itself tells everything, that is, a small is beautiful. And there is ongoing quest to make life and the living in cities optimally sustainable, because whenever we talk about anything nowadays, the common word which come across in our mind is like sustainable design or interdisciplinary approach. So this is like it is a need of today, and such workshops play a valuable role towards this goal. This workshop is for those who want to make our cities surroundings sustainable, even as we develop a people-centric perspective. As we face big challenges such like climate change, global warming, depletion of natural resources, environmental pollution, damage to the biodiversity, you can say social breakdown, poverty. So we believe that the approach to design should beyond disciplines and embrace a holistic view. So all this, you can say, if you want to solve all this issue, or you can say if you want to solve all this problem, the SIB is a solution. I must highlight here. And also I would like to request Madam Dr. Roshni, as well as Professor L.R. Persif, the VTU, as well as you can say as a you can say coordinator of from the VTU side. We are openly, you can say, and happily we must say, the VTU is always open to host and organize such workshops throughout Karnataka. So it is like you can say word from my end. So anything else, Sunanda, I must say, or this is enough? Yes, so this is my personal experience. So first, I thank each one of you, and thank you so much for inviting me here. So the journey of SIB is wonderful, and it will be like wonderful. Let's hope for the best, and definitely in the next year, because this year it is very difficult, but definitely the next year we would like to host. It may be in Belgaum, or it may be in Mysore or Gulbarga. The VTU doors are always open for SIB and IEAR. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for that effusive address. The past hour has been quite a virtual experience, and must I say, an intellectual adventure. But due to paucity of time, we will not be able to answer any participant queries today. However, if any of the participants have any queries, please feel free to mail them to IER email ID. However, I'm tempted to ask the curators of this thought disruptive workshop one last question. And this is a question that I'd like all three curators to address one by one. Small is beautiful, SIB, or SIV, is gradually but surely evolving into a brand. Like Rohan just said, 220 colleges under VTU. Where do you see SIB in the next 5 to 10 years? Will it limit itself to an Indo-Israel joint venture, or do you intend to expand it to other countries too? Because I'm sure that there are small spaces all across the globe. So would you like to share your vision with our audiences? This is an open question to all three curators. Let's start with you, Elad.
Okay, thank you, Sunanda. Well, I think before we move to different countries, we need to address the changes in the global environment that happen. And in light of COVID-19, we see that small and dense living spaces are beautiful and have a lot of wisdom. Nevertheless, they impose a big threat of infectious disease. And in a way, small is beautiful is more needed now than ever, because who else can solve such a complex problem rather than an interdisciplinary team led by designers and designers, social workers, and now we need to add to the team to make it larger with life science researchers and health professionals. And I think this is the next step. in broadening the perspective towards the contemporary challenges.
Okay. Ruti? Is Ruti here?
Yeah, okay. I really agree, and that's what I wanted to say, that now because of the pandemic and because of the threat, suddenly the beautiful concept of small is beautiful went bankrupt, and we stood and looking at this concept to say, wow, this is really can be dangerous. But I think that in a very short time, the tense between keeping distance and keeping health and being aware of social distancing, etc., we realized that there's no option for the world but to reduce the population and to make consumerism small, because otherwise we won't be here to talk about it. So, as I said, the tense between these two sustainable concepts, and it's, as Elad says, it's really a new challenge. And that's why I think that the idea of dealing with it in a lot of population that we tried before to, when we had contact in Iceland, in Lisbon, and in many other countries, so made this concept be the new ambassador for this COVID situation, because really we have to solve this problem. How can we make our needs smaller in this kind of social distancing, etc. It's really a big challenge.
Yes. You've been giving us some tough things to think about today, Ruti. Dr. Roshni.
Yeah, I think while I agree with both of them, but definitely, as I said before, small, I don't think is just about the space. It is also about the use of resources and, the lifestyle and all of these things. And nothing is more significant now to us, especially in this pandemic situation, than the aspect that we have been huge consumers. We have been using things which we probably never needed, a lot of these things, and how we can be simplistic, how we can be, we can consume much less. I mean, I sometimes sit here and count my own, carbon emissions that have been reduced because of this pandemic situation. I can tell you it's a lot, because I used to travel a lot, so I can't claim to be really green. So yes, this definitely poses a question about the future, and I think that still small is beautiful. The concept has a lot to do in the future. And thinking of our collaboration, I think it's a unique collaboration, and I think that's one of the reasons we want to go ahead and continue in whatever way, at least to create this awareness of sustainability. Because I know there are universities which have signed MOUs and so on, but we have not signed any MOU, and we have yet continued this project year after year for 4 years. I think it's an achievement that we have been able to do. And I think incrementally, I see something happening better each year. Like initially, there were like a few students on that side and this side. And every year, the number of students is increasing, the disciplines also. And I think, like everybody has said before, the addition of the social students, social science, social service students of Hebrew University was really such an increment, such a wonderful addition to this year's, last year's Sib. We found that they almost in almost all the groups, they took the lead, and to interact with the community. And you would always find that the engineers and the architects and the others would hesitate, but the social ones were able to communicate very well. So these things we learned along the way, and we hope that each year we will be able to, maybe in the next year, if we can do it. One of the bigger hurdles has also been the communication part, we were trying Skype and this and that, but now suddenly COVID-19 and we have Zoom and all the other things, and we can, communicate so easily. I'm sure that in the next SIB, even if people don't, travel to each other's country, they can, even in their own countries, do case studies and communicate on Zoom and other channels, I'm sure, not just Zoom, and explore ideas and things more meaningfully. I hope that we continue this kind of exploration. And thanks to VTU, which has given us again another open invitation. And what we really like in India, because India is a huge country with so many different cases, cities, cultures, it's just variety. So every year a new city means new learnings, new findings. And I hope that my co-curators and professors here would also consider that we put down all of these case studies, these learnings, sort of put them together, like Sneha was suggesting actually, that we should put them together as learnings for the future. So this is also something that we can do in the future. And I think that it should be something that will continue together, at least in one way or the other. We are also planning a course on postgraduate course on sustainable design, and possibly SIB will be part of this course. I'm hoping for that. Let's hope for that. Yeah. Thank you, Sunanda. Yes, over to you.
Thank you for sharing your views, Dr. Roshni, Dr. Elad, Professor Ruti. I, for one, am looking forward very eagerly to your announcing SIB 2021. I'll look out for it. And I would now hand over this virtual platform to Architect Prajakta Adhikari and Architect Sneha Taishete for today's closing remarks. Thank you, everyone. Toda rabba.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunanda. You were brilliant. Goodness, really.
Thank you,
Much
Rudy.
interesting listening to you. It was great.
As always.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Sunanda. I would like to thank our curators, all our participants on behalf of the Institute for taking us through this 4-year-long journey of the workshop with all our participants. Our celebration will continue over the coming Saturday, where we will showcase another major project done in past of a different scale altogether. Our next webinar will be conducted on 31st October at 4 p.m. on Sustainable Village Tourism in Sindhudurg district. Do join us next week to be a part of this virtual celebration. Do share this with your friends and colleagues. We would like to thank all who are a part of our virtual family on Instagram and Facebook and are making us stronger with your support. If you aren't yet a part, do follow our Instagram and Facebook page for further updates. The link to join our pages have been posted in the chat window. We would also be soon announcing our short certificate courses, so stay tuned. Thank you all for joining today. Take care and stay safe. Bye.